I work as a food delivery driver. Most deliveries go smoothly. I pick up the food, drop it off, and move on to the next order. But last September, I had an encounter that still makes my blood boil when I think about it. It was a Tuesday afternoon and I got an order to deliver lunch to the hospital about 10 minutes from the restaurant. The delivery instructions only said to call when I arrived. No room number, no department, nothing else. I'd just call when I got there and get more directions. When I arrived at the hospital, I called the customer's number. No answer. I called again. Still no answer. I waited in the parking lot for about 10 minutes, calling a few more times but got nothing. According to our policy, if we can't reach the customer, we're supposed to leave the food in a safe place and notify them. Since this was a hospital, the most logical place was the front admissions desk. I went inside, told the receptionist about the situation, and left the food with them. I sent a message to the customer letting them know where their food was and continued with my other deliveries. About 5 minutes later, my phone started blowing up with angry texts. The customer was demanding to know where her food was. She called me a moron for not bringing it to her and insisted she had told me where to deliver it. She said it was all my fault and called me an idiot. I was confused because she hadn't told me where to bring it. I checked the delivery instructions again to make sure I hadn't missed anything. Nope, just call when arrived. I texted back apologizing for the confusion and told her that I had tried calling several times without getting an answer. I mentioned that the only instruction was to call when I arrived. She continued to blame me and insult me. I apologized again even though I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I've learned it's usually better to just de-escalate situations like this. Then I got a notification that the customer had reported they never received their food and left me a negative rating. This could affect my ability to get orders in the future, so I immediately contacted support to explain what happened. Since I was still in the area, I decided to go back to the hospital to find out if the food had been picked up. When I arrived, I spoke to the same receptionist at the admissions desk. The receptionist told me that a woman had come down about 10 minutes after I left. She said the woman was really angry and cursing. She confirmed that the woman had taken the food and mentioned that it was all captured on their security camera if I needed proof. While I was talking to the receptionist, I was also messaging with customer service. They told me the customer was claiming someone had stolen her food and was refusing to pay for it. I remembered that the name on the order was Russian, not common in our area, so it would be easy to verify it was the same person. Customer service said if I could verify the food was received, they would remove the negative rating. The receptionist called an administrator to come talk to me, who then brought in hospital security. The security officer listened to my story, watched the security footage, and then said he would go speak to the nurse who ordered the food. A few minutes later, he came back looking frustrated. The security officer told me that he had talked to the nurse, but she was refusing to admit she took the food or pay for it. He told me that he had explained to her that this could be theft of services, but she didn't seem to care. When I asked what would happen next, the security officer mentioned they could involve the police. He told me that he had told her that, and she had simply told him to go ahead. I was shocked that someone would risk their job and face legal trouble over a lunch delivery. The security officer called the police and I filed a brief statement for theft of services. A few weeks later, a female detective contacted me. She said they were looking into my case about the hospital delivery. I asked her if she really thought it was worth pursuing such a small amount. The detective told me that normally she might not, but she had reviewed the texts the woman sent me and how she was offered multiple chances to avoid charges but refused. She pointed out that the woman had come after me hard. That made my mind up instantly. If she wanted to play hardball over a lunch delivery, fine. The detective told me she would try to contact the woman at her home first, but if she wasn't there, she'd arrest her at the hospital. The charges were misdemeanor fraud and something else I can't remember. Then months went by and I heard nothing. I figured it had been dropped or forgotten. But just this Tuesday, I received an email from the court asking for my address where they could send a restitution check. The woman had pled guilty. I never expected things to go this far over a simple food delivery, but I guess some people have to learn the hard way that their actions have results. I just hope she thinks twice before treating another delivery person like garbage. I work as a parcel courier for an international shipping company. The job has ups and downs, but I enjoy the freedom of being on the road and completing deliveries on time. Yesterday started like any other day. The weather was crisp but sunny, and I was making good time on my route. I was in a pretty great mood, playing music and checking packages off my list. That changed when I reached what I now call the intersection from hell. This street has a weird setup. On one side, you have homes mixed with businesses that have apartments above them. On the other side is a state highway with heavy traffic flowing on and off. It's one of the few entry points to the highway, unless you want to take a detour. The infrastructure is terrible, but everyone around here knows the rules to keep traffic moving. Yesterday was tricky because of heavy snowfall, making the narrow intersection even tighter. As I approached, I noticed a woman in a silver sedan stopped at the front of the left turn lane. At the same time, a semi-truck was trying to make a left turn onto the street to access the highway. This is where the entitlement started. The road was so narrow from snow piles that the semi couldn't complete his turn unless the sedan backed up. I could see the situation developing and knew what needed to happen. The truck driver began his turn thinking he was dealing with a reasonable person. He couldn't complete it because the sedan was in the way. Every driver behind her started backing up because people have places to be, and this truck needed to get through. There was about 15 feet of space behind her, plenty of room to reverse slightly and let everyone continue their day. What did she do? Nothing. About 15 seconds passed, and the semi-driver gave her a couple of honks. By this point, it was too late for him to back up or change course. His truck and trailer were blocking the entire intersection, and traffic was building up from both directions, people trying to exit the highway and others trying to get on. The truck driver honked again, longer this time, and then this woman put her car in park and started scrolling through her phone. I didn't need to turn at that intersection, and there was a way to maneuver around the semi when the light turned green. It was dangerous though because drivers turning left couldn't see us trying to pass. When I made it to the front, the light turned red, leaving me alongside the sedan. I got out of my delivery van, walked over, and knocked on her window. She looked up from her phone. I yelled at her through the glass that she needed to back up because the truck had nowhere to go. She kept her windows rolled up, but I could make out her response. She was insisting that she was there first, pointing at the ground as if that justified blocking an intersection. The semi-driver started inching closer to her car, trying to get her to back up, but she wouldn't move. I shouted again, explaining that the truck couldn't move anywhere and that traffic was completely blocked. She ignored me and went back to her phone. I looked up at the truck driver, shrugged, and threw my hands up to signal that this woman wasn't going to move. When the light turned green, I had to continue on my route. After making a few more deliveries, about 10 to 15 minutes later, I went back to check if the situation had been resolved. The traffic was completely clogged in all directions. I couldn't even see the highway exit, but I imagined there was a long line of cars trying to get off. I had to get back to my deliveries, so I didn't stay to see how it ended. My guess is the truck driver called the police. Part of me wishes I had needed to turn left at that intersection just to see the officers deal with her. It's been over 24 hours, and I'm still amazed at the entitlement of some people. One person decided her time was more important than everyone else's, and hundreds of people were inconvenienced. She probably still doesn't think she did anything wrong. In her mind, she was there first. Some people think traffic laws are just suggestions, and common courtesy is optional. I've seen a lot of bad driving in my years as a courier, but this one takes the cake. If you're reading this, don't be like Road Karen. Consider that everyone else on the road is trying to get somewhere too. I need to get things off my chest. It started when I was 9 years old, living in South Philadelphia with my mom. My mom has terrible taste in men. My dad died from a drug overdose when I was little. That's Philly for you, drugs everywhere. After that, she went through bad relationships, each one ending worse than the last. She was emotionally unstable and wanted to find someone who could be the one for both of us. That's when she met the chef. He was completely unremarkable, just some guy from New York who worked as a chef in South Philly. My mom decided to give him a chance. Then, the chef said he had cancer. It came out of nowhere, and my mom got attached to him instantly. I was just a stupid 9-year-old kid who thought my mom could do no wrong. I didn't notice the black eyes she was getting, but my grandfather did. One day, at a corner store in our neighborhood, my grandfather beat the chef black and blue. Looking back now, it makes me smile remembering how the chef was stuck on the couch for days afterward. But the chef was manipulative. He told my mom that my grandmother had somehow made my grandfather beat him up, and that we needed to move away. My family held an intervention, but in the end, my mom decided to leave with him anyway. We packed everything into our van, I held my 90-pound Rottweiler on my lap, and we moved to Florida. Life in Florida was terrible. For 5 years, I was stuck there with no family support. My mom was physically abused daily, while I mostly suffered mental abuse from the chef. During this time, my great-grandmother died. I wanted to go back to Philadelphia for the funeral, but the chef said no. We weren't allowed to go. In 2021, my mom finally left the chef. She even paid for his new apartment just to get him gone. But then came the worst night of my life. Halloween 2021. I was trick-or-treating with a younger friend when it happened. The chef broke into our apartment while we were out. He took my puppy for a walk, and then he smashed everything in our home. When we got back, instead of calling the police, my mom decided we should confront him directly. Just the two of us. Alone. My mom brought a knife. When we arrived at his apartment, there was some woman with him. I told him about what he did to our place, but he played dumb and said he didn't know what I was talking about. My mom told him he was lying and said everything was destroyed. The chef just said we deserved it. A fight broke out and I called emergency services. I also beat the hell out of the chef, but my mom couldn't see that. She thought the chef was winning, so she stabbed him. It wasn't lethal. His fat protected him, and he didn't even go to the hospital. When the police showed up, they saw the choke marks on my mom's neck from the fight, but they still arrested her for assault and breaking and entering. The trial came and went. My mom got off the hook, but would be a felon until she completed some program. We finally left Florida and moved back north to New Jersey. I know my mom breaking up with the chef was largely because I pushed for it. Life continued. But then November came around and I got news that made me laugh. The chef's sister told us he had shot himself in the head. I even read his suicide note. I had ruined his relationship with my mom, and karma came back to get him. He died unloved and alone. I don't feel guilty about what happened. I feel angry that he's dead. I would rather have him live as a homeless person with nothing. He took the easy way out with a bullet, but still, he's dead. So I get some comfort from that. My mother has mental health issues and was diagnosed incorrectly. She was taking medication that made her condition worse, not better. She's getting off her current medication and starting new medication soon. Things are looking up for us now that we're back north and away from that nightmare. That day at the grocery store changed everything. I work as an accountant at a small firm downtown. The job pays well enough, but the hours can be long, especially during tax season. That day had been rough. My boss had dumped a pile of urgent client files on my desk just as I was about to leave. By the time I finally got out, I was exhausted and just wanted to grab a few things from the store before heading home. It was one of those big supermarkets where you can get lost for hours. The fluorescent lights were giving me a headache, and the place was packed with after-work shoppers like me. All I wanted was to grab some microwave dinners, maybe a bottle of wine, and get out quickly. I was in the cereal aisle when I heard it. At first, it was just background noise, the kind you tune out in a busy store. But then the volume got louder, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I heard a soft voice apologizing to someone. The person was saying they were sorry for accidentally bumping into a woman's shopping cart. I looked up and saw a person in a wheelchair, probably in their mid-30s, looking embarrassed. Their wheelchair had bumped into the cart of a woman standing a few feet away. It wasn't a big deal, the kind of minor collision that happens all the time in crowded stores. But this woman wasn't having it. She stood there, hands on her hips. The woman was screaming at the person in the wheelchair. She was asking if they knew how much the groceries cost and telling them they would have to pay for everything. She called them a careless brat. I stopped. The person in the wheelchair looked mortified, shrinking back. The woman kept pointing her finger in their face. Her voice echoed through the aisle, drawing stares from other shoppers, who quickly looked away and hurried past. Nobody was doing anything. People were just watching or pretending not to see. Something inside me snapped. I walked toward them. I told the woman to stop right now. I said there was no need to talk to this person like that. The woman turned to face me, her eyes wide. She asked me who I thought I was. She was taller than me by a few inches, with an expensive-looking handbag on her arm. I said I was someone who believes in treating others with kindness and respect. I told her she wasn't doing either of those things. The woman told me to mind my own business. She complained that the person had nearly destroyed her groceries and asked if I knew how much she had spent. I replied that I didn't care if she had spent her life savings. I told her nothing gives her the right to speak to another human being that way. By now, a small crowd had gathered. The person in the wheelchair looked uncomfortable. I told the woman to let it go because it was an accident, and they had already apologized. The woman's face got red. She took a step toward me, her finger pointed at my face. She started to tell me not to tell her what to do, asking again who I thought I was. She didn't finish her sentence. She lunged forward, maybe trying to intimidate me or push me. My self-defense classes kicked in. I stepped aside and my fist hit her jaw. One quick punch. She fell down, landing with a thud. She sat there, stunned, hand on her jaw. For a moment, nobody moved. Then everything happened at once. Someone shouted for the manager. A teenager pulled out their phone and started recording. A store employee rushed over. The store employee asked what happened and if everyone was okay. The woman on the floor found her voice. She shouted that I had hit her. She said to call the police and said she wanted me arrested. The person in the wheelchair spoke up. They said I had been protecting them. They told everyone that the woman had been yelling at them and then tried to attack me. By then, the manager had arrived. The manager asked everyone to stay calm and wanted to know what was happening. The woman got up, still holding her jaw. She said I had punched her for no reason. She repeated that she wanted me arrested. I explained what happened. I told him that she had been yelling at the person for accidentally bumping her cart, and when I stepped in, she tried to attack me. Other witnesses started backing up my version of events. The woman looked around, seeing she was outnumbered. She said the store was trash anyway, and that she would never shop there again. She tried to leave, but the manager blocked her path. The manager told her that she needed to stay. He said they had called security and that the police were coming. She asked why the police were coming. She said she was the victim. The police arrived a few minutes later. They took statements from everyone, including several witnesses who had seen everything. The woman kept changing her story, but with so many witnesses contradicting her, it didn't work. One of the officers came to me after taking my statement. The officer told me that based on the witness statements, I was acting in self-defense. He said they weren't charging me with anything, but the woman was getting cited for disorderly conduct. The woman was taken out of the store, still protesting. As things calmed down, I turned to the person in the wheelchair. I asked if they were okay. They thanked me. They said they didn't know what would have happened if I hadn't been there. They said no one else had been willing to step in. I told them I couldn't just watch. I said no one deserves to be treated that way. They said most people do just watch because they don't want to get involved. They told me what I did meant a lot to them. We talked for a few more minutes. They told me this wasn't the first time they'd faced abuse because of their disability, but it was the first time a stranger had defended them. By the next morning, the video of the incident had spread across social media. Local news picked it up, and I was getting messages from friends and family who had seen me on TV. Most people were supportive, calling me brave for standing up to a bully. A few criticized me for hitting her, but they weren't there. They didn't see how she came at me. The store sent me a gift basket with a note thanking me for protecting their customer, which was ironic since they hadn't helped at the time. I donated it to a local shelter. I still shop at that store sometimes. The employees recognize me now, and the manager nods when he sees me. I've run into the person in the wheelchair a couple of times too. We smile and talk briefly. They're doing well. As for the woman, I heard she tried to sue me, but no lawyer would take her case with all the witness testimony and video evidence against her. I don't consider myself a hero. I just did what anyone should do when they see someone being mistreated. The world would be better if we all looked out for each other like that.